today we are going to discuss isolation and utilization of caffeine from medicinal plant. So this caffeine is nothing but an purine alkaloid which is present in the nature in abundant amount. Specifically, they are distributed in these four plants in a considerable higher amount. Tea leaves, coffee beans, coca fruits, and guarana. Guarana contain highest amount of caffeine, that is 4 to 7%, followed by tea, then coffee, then coca. So the tea has been introduced to the world by Chinese Emperor Shen Yu, and later on the coffee from South African region it has been come into the existence, and it also become one of the popular beverages which contain the caffeine. So these effect of the coffee has fascinated these French chemist Pierre Jean and who has attempted to isolate the first time the pure phytoconstituent present in the coffee, that is caffeine. So caffeine is a purine base, or it is also known as xanthine derivative, which is a 1,3,7 trimethyl xanthine. Before going to the isolation, we should know some physicochemical properties. You will be very surprised that here the caffeine shows wide solubilities. What it means? It means it is soluble in water as well as it is soluble in chloroform, alcohol, acetone, as well as diethyl ether. The solubility in the water has been increased as the temperature increases. So at a normal temperature, at a normal room temperature, it having 22 milligram, while at boiling water it is in 670 milligram per ml. So it is very highly soluble in water as well as chloroform. This having a melting point is 235 to 238 degrees Celsius. So caffeine has another property, that is what we can call as a sublimation property. And this sublimation property of caffeine can be utilized for the separation of caffeine from the medicinal plant. So the dried powder can be kept into the sublimation chamber and subjected for heating. So at a melting point of caffeine, they start to convert from solid to the gas. And these solid, when convert to the gas, and in the sublimation chamber, when it is come in contact with the cold surface, it is called as fingers in sublimation chamber. It start to crystal out, and thus one can isolate very easily caffeine from medicinal herb by using sublimation technique. Another method is the old method is known as toss-auto method. So toss-auto method, the extraction of caffeine from the tea leaves for what it has been designed. So as we know that tea leaf contain the caffeine along with the other chemical constituent, that is tannin. And the tannin also shows the solubility in alcohol and water, as well as caffeine also shows the solubility in water and alcohol. So for that purpose, there are some manipulation in the steps have been carried out to remove the tannins and later on to extract out the caffeine. So here tea powder is extracted with or boiled with the water for 30 minutes. So what it becomes an aqueous extract, subject to filtration, going to get an aqueous extract. This aqueous extract contain the alkaloids and tannins, because tannins, as I said, alkaloid in the boiling water, caffeine is highly soluble, as well as tannins are also soluble in boiling water. So to remove the tannins, here excess amount of lead acetate has been added. So lead acetate is a metal reagent which lead to the precipitation of tannin as a lead tannin. But in this case, we don't know how much amount of tannin is present into the solution. So for that purpose, here excess amount of lead acetate is added. Excess amount means what? Even the lead acetate has been added, even though the precipitation has ceased out or stopped, and this precipitate has been subjected to filtration, and this after precipitation we are going to get a clear solution along with the excess amount of lead. So this excess amount of lead which want to be removed, so for that removal the S2S gas has been passed. So S2S gas convert this lead acetate into the lead sulfide, which is become a precipitate in a solution, and thus one can easily separate it by means of filtration technique. So after the filtration, in these two steps, the tannins has been removed, as well as whatever the excess amount of lead has been added, that is also being removed by means of S2S gas. Now it contains the aqueous extract, as we have been mentioned earlier. These are in the water, alkaloids and tannin get solubilized. So in aqueous extract, now the alkaloids are only present, along with the other chemical constituents which are not therapeutically important. It may be the carbohydrates, or what we can say sugars, amino acids, or certain amounts of pigments. So to remove it from that, this aqueous extract is partitioned with the chloroform 3 times. Okay, and this partition lead to the separation of proteins, amino acid from the caffeine. As seen earlier that caffeine shows wide solubility, that is soluble in water as well as soluble in chloroform. So here in last stage after addition of chloroform, the caffeine has been transferred from aqueous portion to the chloroform portion, and one will get in purified caffeine. And thus one can get in crystals, needle shaped crystals of the caffeine. Another method is what here is called a solid extraction method. So as we know that the tea powder when boiled with the water, it gets solubilize the alcohol along with the tannins. As here we know in the aqueous extract alcohols and tannin get accumulated, but this tannin has a limited solubility here. So tannins are only soluble in water and alcohol, while tannins are insoluble in chloroform. While alcoholate we have seen in before two slides, this caffeine is soluble in water as well as diethyl ether chloroform. So the aqueous extract when subjected for partition or solvent washing or partition with the chloroform, so tannin will not transfer into the chloroform, while only the alcohols will transfer from aqueous extract to the chloroform, and thus we will get in two layers of partition, chloroform layer and aqueous layer. And these chloroform layer, when it is subjected for evaporation, we are going to get in crystals, needle shaped crystals of the caffeine. So this is another method. And in the aqueous extract the tannin get accumulated. So uses, as we are very much aware that it is a CNS stimulant, so it having effect on CNS. It is also act as a nasal decongestant, and thus being utilized in a complication produced because of the accumulation of the water into the sinus. It is called as sinusitis. It is also being used by athletes for a better performance or better performance. That is doping in the doping study might be found in some athletes so as to perform the better into the running as well as weightlifting. Then combination, it is used along with the combination with analgesic agents. So being a nasal decongestant, it can be used along with the paracetamol, which is an analgesic. Thus, it can use in better result in the sinusitis as well as in common cold. This pharmacological effect on the CNS, heart, renal, gastrointestinal, and respiratory system. It also having in the renal system, it having a diuretic effect. So one of the very popular brand from India, that is Synarist from Centaur Pharmaceuticals. It contains the paracetamol along with the caffeine. So this is an antihistaminic molecules. This is caffeine. So it can be useful in sinus congestion and headache. So this headache is taken care by the paracetamol. Sinus congestion is taken care by caffeine. Thus